name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Sammaz, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Ready? Play.
Welcome in, everyone, to our Monte Carlo recap and preview. As we finish up day 4 now, I am here joined with a fan favorite, my co-host Fergus Gavin. How are we doing today, Fergus?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you, Brenna. How are you?
I'm good. So,
Excellent.
An exciting day. As I say, day 4, because Monte Carlo started on Sunday, just a few matches. But, I mean, the biggest storylines today are Novak Djokovic, who fell, and Carlos Alcaraz, who got his first win in Monte Carlo. I don't think we'll start there, but just wanted to, set the stage here for the show.
Absolutely.
But we'll look into a good clay court battle between, two warriors, two super good athletes in Alejandro Davidovich Fokina and Thomas Martin Etcheverry. What were your thoughts on that match and the physicality of it?
Yeah, it was a big physical battle. Davidovich Fokina made it that way. Etcheverry was really scrapping to get to hold serve throughout the entire match. First set was very tight, but as soon as that first set went away, I feel like with the way Etcheverry's been playing recently, doesn't have a lot of matches under his belt, not very versed in this season in making big comebacks. So I felt as though it wasn't done and dusted, but it was always going to be tough to come back. And, there might have been a small chance at 4-2. Etcheverry saved, I think, 5 or 6 break points. The game was like 12 minutes long. And it might have turned at 4-3, but it was from there, it just all went away again from Etcheverry. But, I'm sure he's just happy to snap the streak that he was on at the moment, because he was on a 5-match losing streak, and Davidovich Fokina, rolls on. He's such a good clay courser, and I had no doubts that he'd come through this one. That's what I thought would happen anyway.
Yeah, I mean, these guys have, I guess, similar, strengths in their games in terms of being natural clay courters. But yeah, as you mentioned, for Etcheverry, kind of getting more rhythm, gaining confidence just from a match by match perspective. But you just think the difference between these two players is, despite Fokina maybe having the ability to choke or struggle in tight moments, he is willing to go for it, and he is more of an aggressive player as opposed to Etcheverry, who's more comfy to hang on the baseline. And I saw some of those competitive points, and Foki has that ability, and he's just a super athlete as well, super good mover. But talk about saving break points. That was huge for him today. He saved 7 of 8 break points, and obviously that went a very long way in such a tight battle.
Yeah, I mean,
do you have anything else to say on it?
No, it was tough for Etcheverry. I mean, Davidovich Fokina doesn't have the biggest serve in the world, but it was effective today. And I kind of thought that if Davidovich Fokina could win that physical battle, that his ground strokes could probably outwork Etcheverry, especially on the clay. But yeah, it was always going to be tough, especially with Etcheverry just a little less match versed at the moment. Davidovich Fokina been in some solid form, made the final in Acapulco, lost that final in Delray Beach. I mean, I'm very impressed with Fokina after that Delray Beach final, because he so easily could have gone into a shell and played horrifically for the next 4 months. But he's done well. He's reset really well, and he's putting together solid wins week after week, and he's just building that ranking back to what it was, which was, I think he's got a ranking high of 21 maybe. So getting it back towards that sort of area, back into the high seeds is what we want. Nolan, are you saying that because Rashford scored, or are you? Just
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what it is, numerically, but this is probably one of Fokina's, best seasons to date in terms of just being 4 months into the season, having made it to 2 finals. He's done very well, very great job. Just unfortunately, choked that Delray Beach final, but continuing to put out a good product on the court after that kind of shaky start against Shelton. He's been quite solid. But that brings me to his next match, where he's going to be facing the lefty, Jack Draper. Does Fokina have to hang with him?
I mean, I don't. This is like, I was kind of hoping for this sort of matchup in round 1 for Jack, because I just really want to see if the level's there. I mean, 1-on-1 against Giron on a hard court, I mean, that's a very different story to 1-on-1 against Giron on a clay court. But we'll see. I mean, Draper looks so good anyway against Giron. I mean, I'm sure he would have played. He would have played really same level against anyone. But this is a different kind of test, and it's definitely one that I'm thinking Jack will come through, but it's going to be a lot tougher. It definitely won't be 1-on-1. It'll be a scrap. It'll be a grind, and it'll be the first time I really get to see Draper's his improved movement on the clay. Because obviously he's become so good out the corners, especially when he won Indian Wales. He was so good coming in and out the corners at that slide, covering the court really well. So we'll see, because he's gonna have to do that tomorrow against Foki. I mean, it's tough to get past him. He's so fast around the court, but yeah, just see if he can pull in with that forehand. I mean, that forehand against Giron was a bit of a joke, but yeah, I'm still expecting Draper to come through this match, but it's going to be a bit tighter. Maybe 2 close sets, or maybe even pushing 3, just about. But I still expect Fokina to come through.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's
Draper to come through.
Yeah. I think that's I think it's a fair analysis, just given how Foki is always going to look to make matches physical, really test his opponent and see what they're made of, and especially, as you said, like testing Jack Draper in terms of his movement, how he can operate out of both wings, how consistently can he do it. That's kind of been the question mark for Jack. But I feel like we're at that turning point where he's got the physical ability and fitness to hang with these top players. And now it's going to be interesting to see like how well Fokina can neutralize that lefty forehand from Jack. I mean, he has a pretty good backhand, fairly compact, but Draper, it'll be interesting to see how he continues to use his variety and use the different shapes and heights on the ball, because that's always frustrating to deal with when you're not able to gather rhythm. So that'll be something that I'm looking out for. I think just the weaponry that Draper possesses is the edge he has here, and having a little bit more time on the ball, that'll give him the edge. So yeah, I'm with you. I think maybe a tight set in there, but I think maybe Draper in 2 is what I would be thinking.
Yeah. I think that's the sensible choice there. I mean, it's kind of having to keep reminding myself that Draper is 6 in the world. Like he's expected to come through these sorts of matches and play up there with the big guys. And obviously Draper's so not underprepared, but unexperienced on the clay compared to these top guys. And even for Foki, I mean, Foki's made a clay court Masters final, and he's a great clay court player. But in this current moment, Draper has to see these kind of matches as an opportunity to prove that he, on all courts and all surfaces, that he is right at the very top.
Yeah, I mean, you do make a good point. He is a top 10 player at this point, so there is a little bit more expectation in terms of the approach here, and as we preview this match. But Gene does make a good point in terms of Fokina being 15-5 versus lefties. That's what I was talking about. He has the ability to not get, I'd say, pushed out of the court by that lefty forehand to the backhand type of battle. So as I mentioned, that's what I'll be looking out for. So shall we move on to the second matchup to the day? Was Yuri Lehechka versus Lorenzo Musetti. Musetti dropped the first set 6-1, but was able to storm back. I mean, now this is his second match in a row, dropping the first set, but having the ability to recover. What did you think of that match today?
I thought that first set, Lehechka played kind of lights out. It was kind of crazy. I mean, James put a tweet out saying, Yuri, like, Lorenzo has to feed his kids. Like, we can't be, like, destroying him like this. Like, James put something out on Twitter like that. And then I tuned in and I was like, oh, right, well, this is going really badly for Lorenzo. But I watched the second and third set, and I mean, those break points for Lehechka at 4-3, 2 break points at 4-3 for Lehechka to, kind of that match is wrapped up like 1-3. And, how crazy is that sounding now that Musetti won it in 3? I mean, yeah. But Musetti played some seriously good tennis towards the back end of that second set and kind of proved why he's hovering around that 15 mark in the world, and why he's such a strong clay courter. He's really solid on all surfaces, but this is his best surface. I mean, arguably grass, obviously, with his Wimbledon semi-final, and then the Queen's final last year. But primarily he's more experienced on the clay, and this is why he comes through those tough sort of matches. I mean, he made a real mess of his round 1 match, but this is against a completely different sort of matchup. Lehechka is obviously a super strong player, and I think that Musetti will kind of be relieved to get through this one, just so he knows that he's just sort of had that first big push of a top player on the clay this season, and he's come through it.
Right. I mean, I think you talk about his approach coming into this tournament. Obviously, a lot. We have, some players who are super excited to get on the clay, whereas others aren't. And I think Musetti's one of them who was excited. But you look at kind of the top half of the draw, as we've talked about kind of all week, and you're going to get a tough name no matter who comes out there. So I think for Musetti, though, as you mentioned, it's those break points are kind of what can change matches and make score lines look a lot different. But as you mentioned, it could have been a totally different story. And I think for him, continuing to grab little surges and sparks throughout the match is super important for him. And he builds off of that so well. But I think of the clay just having so much time. I feel like he has such a better feeling and composure out there. He has such a ability to control the point and dictate if he wants, but he's also happy to defend, and that's what makes it so hard to play against him, because you can be so attacking, but he can be such a good defender. I mean, I don't know if you saw that where he tracked that ball down. Was that on breakpoint? Yeah.
I knew exactly which point you were talking about immediately.
So I mean, he possesses so many qualities, and that's why I think the Berrettini match is so intriguing, because for me, it's like, how can you put Berrettini in difficult positions? Because he's another one of those opponents himself where he's happy to play defense and work off of that. And that's what makes him so hard to beat, because you feel like he's everywhere on the court. And then when he gets a chance, he has, 5 times the bigger forehand than you do, and he can blow you off the court. So that's the thing with Musetti. I just feel like he has an ability to play the game kind of at his pace, and that was important for him today. So
I mean, I think
if you have any more thoughts on Musetti and his
it was good to see. I mean, the crowd there's a big Italian following in Monaco, clearly, Like they're going crazy for Musetti, and he was just using that to feed into their sort of into his play. I mean, Sinner isn't the kind of player. I mean, you just feel like thinking of just Italian players. Sinner isn't the kind of player that kind of feeds off the crowd's energy. He's very much in his own box. You know, he's in his own head. He's just thinking like, what am I going to do for the next point? But you think about the next two Italians, Musetti and then Berrettini, and these guys like get pumped. Like they're super up for it, and when the crowd's up for it, like they go after it. And I think that's almost better. I mean, and I think Musetti uses it so well, and today that kind of got him through those break points at 4-3. I mean, the crowd getting up for after he saved the first one, it was like, well, you kind of almost knew that he was going to save the second, right? And you thought, okay, as soon as he holds here, you know, it's fully game on. So yeah, he's super fun to watch. I really like Musetti's game, especially that one-hander. I think, you know, it's an underrated backhand. I think Musetti's is.
And I agree with you in terms of the one-hander. It is underrated, and I feel like come grass season, it's even more amplified. Just his ability to go down the line and really change, you know, angles in the court. So, yeah, I mean, talk about rally tolerance. It's interesting. I would definitely lean, you know, Musetti. Our preview will come out that I did earlier with Tom. So you can hear more of my thoughts there, but yeah, definitely a fun match. So let's carry on to the third match of the day, which was, you know, a very important one in terms of, you know, legendary status in Monte Carlo. It was Danny Altmaier taking on Richard Gasquet, and Altmaier ended up coming through in the third set. It was a long battle, 2.5 hours. Did you get the chance to watch it, Fergus? What did you think?
Yeah,
One-handed backhand battle.
It was really nice to see. We were talking about it yesterday. We were just excited to watch that one-hander to one-hander sort of battle. It's really not that often that you get to see two one-handers go up against each other, playing those cross-court rallies. But yeah, I mean, it was kind of a nuts game. I mean, breaks galore. I mean, like every single time you thought like someone was gonna pull ahead in the set, you know, it was immediately shut down by their opponent. But I think, unfortunately for Gasquet, I think that first set was key. After playing such kind of a grueling first set, he would have needed to win it to give himself a chance. He kind of ran out of steam in the third. But all credit goes to Gasquet for that second set, 5-3 down, you know, and then comes back to win at 7-5. I mean, yeah, a great effort. And I mean, when he won his first Monte Carlo match, I mean, youngest ever ATP Tour winner, main draw winner. So I mean, at 15, it's just nuts. Like 15 years old, and he's on one of the biggest stages in tennis. I mean, yeah, that will never ever be broken, ever. Especially with the way that tennis is going, it will never ever be broken. You're gonna have to find something very, very, very special. And yeah, but you know, it's Gasquet's last hurrah at Monte Carlo. But yeah, definitely a very entertaining match. But all credit goes to Altmaier as well. I mean, he came through, didn't really let the occasion phase him. He could have easily got inside his own head and let it slip after that second set, 7-5. But yeah, all credit goes to Altmaier.
No, I know you said it. You said it best. It's just insane to see him, you know, doing it for so long, and just such a legend of the sport. And I think you could feel it probably in the crowd and in the atmosphere of him coming back and winning that second set. And you're like, we might have a chance to have, you know, something special here and let the journey keep going. But as kind of we previewed in the previous show, where it just, regardless of it going 3, you knew it was going to be physical, as Altmaier, you know, tends to make it. And so, you know, it was just a little bit too much in that third set to get over the hump. But obviously a special story, a special, you know, career, and definitely a lot to applaud. And, you know, obviously we're a lot younger than, you know, some of the fans in people who interact with the show. So, we have a totally different perspective, but it's definitely a special one. So, we're lucky to witness this side of it. So,
yeah, and I mean,
take there.
You think about how it is in Monte Carlo. I mean, I'm sure preparations are well underway for Roland Garros in late May when he officially retires. It'll be a great occasion, a real legend of the sport, and played in the the toughest era of tennis ever. And he was successful. So yeah, and one of the most iconic one-handers. I remember. I think because I'm obviously still quite new to tennis, I remember watching Gasquet against Alcaraz 2024 AO first round, and the backhand's just so iconic. So, but yeah, great to see him on this sort of court for one last time. But yeah, Altmaier goes through.
Yeah, and he'll play Carlos next. I think we could save that preview till we talk a little bit more about his match today. So
yeah.
We'll move on to a marathon of a match, which probably, if you're a tennis fan, you saw this one coming. It was Nuno Borges coming through in 3 hours, 10 minutes over Pedro Martinez.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts going into this one, Fergus? Did it live up to the hype? And are you happy with the result?
I am happy with the result. I really like Borges. Quickly, Ghosty, that's not true, is it? I mean, we all know that's not true. There's no need to provoke anyone there, because that's just Gasquet does not have the best one-hander of all time. Anyway, that's a different conversation. Borges was full of grit today. He played a really good first set, 7-5 after some grindy points with Martinez. I mean, these points were so long, they were beating each other up. And then, you got deep into the second, and you're kind of thinking, well, the deepest this goes is it's more likely that Borges is going to win this in 2. And he had match points, and then they slipped away, and then it was now it's going to get really interesting, and a breakdown in the third. But I think Borges was 4-2 down in the third, and then out of nowhere wins 4 games in a row, and Borges comes through. I mean, just an absolute it's just a classic. That's exactly the clay court match you want to see, isn't it? Right. Two guys sat 50 to 30 in the rankings, but because they're both such strong clay court players, they just put on an absolute show. And I'm so glad that Borges came through, because I really like his brand of tennis, and he's carrying Portuguese tennis on his back right now. He's promoting it so well after Sousa retired at the not beginning of last year, but sort of around this time last year, Sousa retired in Estoril. And Borges is really carried the light and carried the torch, and he's got an interesting opponent in his next round.
Yeah, I mean, I would refer to them as workhorses. This clay being so slow, it's you just got two guys who are willing to grind it out. Play so many neutral rallies and maybe not go for too much. And that's kind of what was on display in terms of the serve kind of not having too much of an effect, and really just continuing to go off of neutral ball rallies. And yeah, I mean that third set is speaks to the character of Borges, and I feel like he's made such a leap in the last, we'll even say year to year and a half. Obviously, winning a clay title against Rafael Nadal, but just continuing to get over small humps and prove himself on this tour as such a tough opponent to break down and hit through. And if he can continue to build off that, the backhand obviously super flat, and he hits it pretty good. So I think he's just continuing to refine, some of his skills, and he'll continue to, improve and get bigger results. So I'm with you. Awesome for him to come through this match. It was always going to be a battle, and he delivered.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just going to refer to something you said a little bit earlier about like a lot of neutral ball rallies. Like they weren't going for that much. Like Borges is, I think in the first set when I was just dropping in and out because there were 4 matches going on at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The points I was watching, Borges was like, he was literally just pushing his backhand. Like he was not going for anything. He was just like putting it back into the court, waiting for the next ball to come back, But that's exactly what these kind of players do on the clay court. They make you play that ball, and they know that they're going into not miss mode. That they're going to make you miss before they miss, and that's how they get the majority of their points. They don't go. They pick their ball to go big, and they land on the line. So yeah, great for Borges. Currently now sits at 41 in the rankings. I mean, get as close to those seeding places as possible in this clay court season, and who knows, maybe you might get a stab at a seeding for Roland Garros, but it's not out of sight.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Let's take a look into his a little look into ahead of his next match, where he's going to take on Stefanos Tsitsipas. Obviously, Steph is a daunting kind of player to play here, and knowing all of his success, what do you expect to see in this match?
I think Borges can frustrate Stefanos. If Stefanos plays like he did against Thompson, it could get tricky, and it could get a bit messy. I think this is a moment where Tsitsipas can't overlook this match at all. Borges is definitely a player that can test Tsitsipas, especially on the clay. And, if Tsitsipas isn't firing, especially on that backhand side, then, Borges could have every right to feel as though he's very much in this match. But, yeah, I'll go Tsitsipas in straights, but I feel as though if Borges needs to get up for this match, and if he can, and, Tsitsipas is just starts a little lackadaisical and starts slow, then Borges can take every opportunity that he gets.
Right, yeah, I'm with you. I mean, it's a little bit similar to the Jordan Thompson matchup, where you kind of know that the player has some firepower and has the ability to go for it, like Borges does, but he doesn't like to. He's not necessarily comfortable doing that, and I think that'll be kind of the difference maker here. If you can frustrate Tsitsipas, it's going to be, with depth and, like you said, angles, trying to, pick on his backhand a bit. But for Steph here, he's likely to be hitting with so much spin, and that'll, frustrate Borges. And as I talk about on the clay, just creating angles and opportunities to create offense. Steph kind of has a lot more confidence in terms of, his clay court style and how his game is, suited for the court. And that's going to be a little bit more difficult for Borges to play comfortably in terms of, playing more of not miss tennis. He's going to have to be aggressive and go for it, because Steph will look to impose his game and, serve +1 and even get to the net. Steph has great hands, very underrated hands that we don't talk about it a lot. And I think, that part of his game will also, come out here.
Yeah, I think it's Borges has to step outside of his comfort zone a little for this next match. Just has to go for it. Be a bit fearless, but pick his balls. If the Tsitsipas backhand isn't firing it, and it's a short ball, you can't expect him to not capitalize on those. He has to. If he gives Tsitsipas another ball, Tsitsipas has that quality on the clay that he'll put it away. He'll find that ridiculous pass from the back of the court. So yeah, has to definitely take his opportunities. But if he does, I see no reason why Borges can't really push Tsitsipas here. But I thought as soon as I said it, I thought someone was going to quote that.
We're on here too long, because I've run into situations like that before.
Yeah, but
I know I'm
anyway.
like running into saying something wrong, and I'm trying to find different words.
Yeah, Tsitsipas said definitely in straights, but it could get messy.
Right. I'm with you. Steph should be handily taking this matchup, and also a little bit interesting. They've only met once before, and that was on a similar court in Rome. Similar speed, similar conditions. So yeah, that should be an opportunity for Stefanos to continue to build on his confidence and look to continue on this run. So getting into the next match, it was between the Bucharest champion and a maiden ATP title winner in Flavio Cabali taking on another youngster in Arthur Fils. Did you catch any of this match, and what did you think of it?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I think Fils took his first round match where he went the long way round, and kind of like threw himself off a little bit against Greek Spore. He took that and really like built on that. He said, like, let's not do that again. Let's efficiently do this. I mean, it was first set went by like it was nothing. I mean, Cabali just couldn't lay a hand on Fils, the power too much, and maybe Cabali ran out of steam a little bit, just lacking that much in the tank to really go after Fils. But Fils just too consistent with the forehand, with so much power, and Cabali not moving as well as he had in the last week or so. Obviously, the legs feeling a little tired, but Cabali just struggling to really lay as much power and weaponry. Especially Fils is so good. He's an underrated defender. I really like Fils' his defensive game, and he gets super pumped up when things are going his way. So yeah, good from Fils, and Cabali can look at the positives from the last week and a half and refocus on his game.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I think this will be, a fun matchup to follow along as the future progresses, because, two young talents who have, possess so much variety. Their game suits all conditions, all courts, and those are types of players that I really enjoy watching. But yeah, I mean, as Ghost says, he wasn't up a break in the second, but Cabali did have. Was he up a second?
No, he didn't break.
No, but he had the first break looks in the second, and wasn't able to take them. But it's just a combination of everything when you get to this stage. He's played a bunch of tennis recently and riding such a high, so it's just part of it where you don't take those break points, and it just does come back to bite you. But as you mentioned, so many positives to take away for Flavio Cabali here, and obviously we're just Fils. It's kind of crazy how much talent he possesses and aggressiveness and energy he brings, and he's only 20 years old, I believe. So he's gaining traction on this tour and making a name for himself so early. It's definitely fun to watch, and we're big fans of him. So let's get into his next match, which is going to be against Andre Rublev. How about this? We'll talk about Andre Rublev versus Gael Monfils, and then we'll get into it. I think that would be more fitting.
Yeah, that sounds great.
So we can recap it. Did you get a chance to watch this battle?
I did. I got to watch Monfils' set points in the second, and I really thought, this is what I want to see. Like Monfils takes the second, and here we go, blockbuster third, but great recovery from Andre, hitting through Monfils really well, especially off the forehand side. Hits it so flat and with so much power. I mean, it's ridiculous. He's got such a big forehand when it's working. Monfils is not someone you can hit through very easily, but they both have such massive arsenals. But it was gonna be tough. Monfils just knows. He said it in interviews now that the clay is not his friend anymore because he needs that pace on the ball, and taking away that pace of the ball, he can't quite produce as well as he wants to. But yeah, Monfils be disappointed he didn't push it to 3, but yeah, great result for Rublev. Obviously, champion here in 2023, loves these conditions, and yeah, I expect him to put together a little run here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think it's always interesting because with Rublev, pretty much every opponent knows what they're going to get, and it's a ball bashing from the center of the court, trying to get you on the run and trying to essentially wrong foot you. And he just does it so well. And once you get into kind of neutral ball rallies, he's going to look to move you around. And it just felt like at times Monfils isn't able to, at times even handle the pace. And that's probably one of his best attributes is being able to defend, but almost play offense at the same time. And he wasn't really able to do that consistently enough today. And then, yeah, I mean, as you mentioned again, that was definitely, it was a hard to see, Monfils get broken there as he served for the second set. But, you credit Rublev for, creating that deuce battle, putting the pressure on, not getting, down on himself when Monfils did have set points and eventually just gave himself enough opportunities. And the pressure built where I think Monfils doubled to give the break back.
Yeah,
at 5-all.
Yeah, it was double. I mean, I don't know. It seemed as though Monfils was desperate to get out of that second set. I mean, he really threw in that on, I think, his second set point, 40-30. Second serve, he charged the net. And I mean, on the second serve didn't have enough on it for Rublev not to have the time to literally just pick his spot and smack it. So, yeah, it was annoying, but for Monfils. But he's such an entertainer to watch, and obviously this part of the season isn't his favorite, and but he's always fun to watch, no matter if he loses or wins. I mean, one of the most memorable matches in recent years. I mean, on the clay against Baez when he was like, that was a ridiculous comeback. So
French Open,
yeah. So yeah, always produces, and I expect him to be just fine.
Agreed, and definitely credit Rublev as well because he played a superb breaker. It was
huge credit to Rublev for that breaker.
Yeah, he just really couldn't miss and served well. Plus ones were perfect. So yeah, I mean, it was a great way to finish out the second set for him. All right, so that brings us to our preview where we got Arthur Fils taking on Andre Rublev. What are your thoughts, Fergus?
This is a tough one. I kind of like Fils on this clays. Is if he plays like he did against Caboli, and if he plays like he did against Caboli, he'll definitely push it to 3, and he might have a shot at winning this one. But if he plays like he did against Griekspoor, then I think Rublev, if he's on it, then this would be Rublev's match to lose. But I kind of think Rublev in 3 is the safe bet here, and I think that it might either be that Rublev loses the first set like 6-2 or like 6-1, but it kind of just has a set where he's just down on himself and he's missing on the forehand side, and then suddenly everything clicks at the start of the second, and yeah, he comes through. But I think it'll be tight in the third, but I'm going to give the edge to Rublev, so I'll say Rublev in 3.
Okay. Well, I was smiling because Gene was thinking the same thing in terms of Rublev losing the first set, or Rublev winning the first set and Fils coming back to win. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting. It's like kind of a battle of who they both hit the ball very hard. And as I say, I think Rublev's just a ball basher. He likes to stay kind of center of the court, right on top of the baseline, take things early, take them on the rise, and really dictate and counterpunch. And that's that'll be interesting in terms of a contrast with Fils, where I feel like he likes to get on the move and spread the court out. And I just don't know if Rublev's lack of movement towards the net is going to be a factor here, because that's where I just don't think he's able to finish points as quickly, especially when you look at a defender like Fees, who has such good, movement and fitness, and he's such a physical player where he's going to be hard to hit through. And he does look to attack and get on the move and get forward. And I think that might be able to put enough pressure on Rublev where he's not, in such a rhythm, or in his timing's a bit off. So I think that could fluster him. So I do think the 3 sets is a good look here. But I think some of these pressure moments are going to be important. I feel like Fees gets himself into trouble quite easily just due to how erratic he can be. And, that could be the difference here. So I think with Rublev, in terms of just being a little bit more sturdy, that could push him over the line here.
Yeah, I think it's tough because you don't really. I mean, you know what you're going to get from Rublev, but you don't know what quality you're going to get from Rublev. It's always the same. There's no real time I've ever come out and seen Rublev play and go, "Oh, that's different." Like, it's always the same. But whether he's nailing the line on every forehand, or whether he's just missing on every line on the forehand, we'll see. Whichever one comes out will be interesting to see no matter what. But I'm still gonna stick with Rublev in 3, no matter. You haven't quite persuaded me enough there.
Good. That's what we like. A fair neutral battle, but it should be fun.
Absolutely. No, definitely a fun one to look out for.
Totally.
Also,
all right.
Sorry. Quickly.
Go ahead.
Gene, I actually agree. Feast has such good volleys at the net. I think Feast is an underrated volleyer. He's some of his shots that he hit to winning Hamburg last year were so good. So good. Sorry, Gene. We'll try to switch it up with our less boring predictions. We'll try to switch it up.
Yeah. All right, let's talk about probably the most exciting player on tour in terms of what they can bring to the court, and I guess storylines, because there's been plenty of them. But Carlos Alcaraz played his first match, not his first match. He won his first match today in Monte Carlo of his career, or he took down Fran Cerundolo. Lost the first set 6-3, but gave out a bagel and a breadstick to finish it. Fergus, tell me your thoughts on this match and Carlos Alcaraz, going forward at this tournament.
Just reading Nerland's comments. That first, I didn't get to watch the first set because I was out, and then I was walking past a pub and it actually had the Cerundolo match on, and I saw it was 6-3 Cerundolo, and I was like, is this another exit for Alcaraz, early on? There's gonna be a media frenzy. People are gonna start saying he's bad, he's terrible. People need to stop hyping him up. And I'm so glad that Carlos actually he played near his best in sets 2 and 3. I mean, to bagel Cerundolo on any surface isn't a mean feat. I mean, Cerundolo's such a good all-court player. A really underrated. I really like Cerundolo. He's such an underrated all-court player, and especially that forehand is definitely a weapon. Forehand's a big weapon for him. But yeah, I mean, Alcaraz can't get past him, and he has the power to just put it anywhere on court. So I mean, it's as simple as that. That forehand dictates, and that backhand is by no means a building block in a rally. I mean, it just is devastating from all corners. So yeah, ridiculous. I feel as though there are little amount of people on tour that can out-hit Alcaraz on a clay court, and you have to rely on some very good point construction to be able to beat Alcaraz, or you have to rely on Alcaraz not being at his best. There's no out-hitting Carlos Alcaraz on a clay court, in my opinion. I just feel like there isn't.
Yeah, I mean, I was doing a watch-along for this match, and I was thinking a little bit along the same lines as you. I was like, okay, are we going to have these storylines? Alcaraz can't win in Monte Carlo. what do we expect going forward? All of this, all that. So at the end of the day, as we're talking here, I'm glad that we're having a different conversation because it finally felt like things started to click. But that wasn't without saving a bunch of break points. I say a bunch. I think it was 3 or 4 within his first and third game. So it was those were important moments in the match, and Cerundo's level just dropped off a bit. I thought his returning wasn't as good as it should have been on those break points, and Carlos was able to take advantage. But it was great to see kind of once he got into the match, the comfort level started to be there. There was a spark in terms of his movement. Everything was kind of working in rhythm, working off of each other. And that's when he's so deadly, because then my forehand's firing, my backhand's firing. What about my drop shot? It's the best in the world. And so that was on full display as well. And you're thinking you have to defend so much against Alcaraz where you're so far behind the baseline. And Carlos likes to make his drop shots perfect, so it doesn't really matter. But you're so far back there where you just don't have an opportunity to create any sort of like cat and mouse. It's just, drop shot, return into the net, or drop shot, and Carlos puts it away. So that was on full display as well. But overall, a good performance, and I definitely think the rest of the tournament looks bright for him. We did kind of touch on the serve, and it's still not clicking at the level that I bet he wants it to be, and what a top 5 player's serve kind of should look like in an effectiveness perspective. But I'm with you guys. It felt like once Cerundolo's level kind of dropped and he was fading a bit, he got a little bit down on himself, and he's like, all right, I'll give it like one last go. But I'll be honest with you, Fergus, I was surprised in terms of the rally lengths. It wasn't as long as I would have thought going into the match. Both players were looking to be like fairly aggressive, and there weren't too many extended rallies. So that surprised me a bit.
Yeah, there weren't many neutral balls going on, but and it's a bit of a shame because Cerundolo's first percentage dropped off a cliff in set 2, and obviously that's how you get bageled, isn't it? But it just wasn't making that first serve, and then the second serve was just, it's like it wasn't even landing in. Alcaraz was putting it on the line before it even hit the service box. So it was disappointing to see that Cerundolo kind of dropped his level. We've seen it before. Players against the top players, they get that tight first set, or they get that first set, and in their second set, they feel as though they've got that margin that they can work with the K. I don't have to play as high level in this second set because I have that third set to drop back on. But and the third set kind of got away from him. Really tough hold at the beginning of the third from Cerundolo, and I kind of thought, okay, this is where he gets like G'd up and he gets going, but he just couldn't get up for it in the third, and it's a bit disappointing. But Alcaraz, all credit to Alcaraz, he was stellar today.
Yeah, and I'll quickly touch on Cerundolo. I'm openly a big fan of his game. I talked about how difficult he is to play on clay. He moves so well, but he's just so consistent, and like I said, the forehand is just such a big weapon. But the backhand is even so much improved. I think so big on the forehand where you forget a little bit about the backhand, and that's been clicking as of this season. But yeah, the serve for Cerundolo, it's never been a big weapon. It's never been that good, and that's why he's kind of susceptible to getting broken much easier. But if he was in a different part of the draw and got someone else, I think he would have had a lovely time and maybe a little bit better of a chance. So that takes us to Alcaraz's next match, where he'll be taking on Danny Altmaier. Do you feel like Altmaier has any chance? If so, what what would that look like?
Damien said it, I think, perfectly. I think 2 days ago on Monday, where he felt as though if Alcaraz could get over this sort of hump with Cerundolo, then it's cruise control till the semis. And I feel as though it's kind of evident here. Altmaier has to play some outrageous stuff tomorrow to challenge Alcaraz. You know, I just don't. After today, comeback win, he feels strong. I just feel as though Almayer is just not going to have enough in the tank. I think it's going to be easily Alcaraz in straights, maybe 3-2. Yeah. Damien doesn't like to use words that define anything really. Much of it likes to hedge around questions.
Yeah. I mean, of course, there's some love for Danny Altmaier, a fun one-handed backhand. I just don't think he has the play style, which is, okay, you have to be aggressive. And I just think this, I guess, like the ball flight and spins, it's just going to hang up too high for Alcaraz. Well, he'll have, too much opportunity to dictate the play, and it'll kind of just leave Altmaier grinding back and forth on the baseline and really not making much damage. He would need to have some sort of peak performance similar to, his match against Sinner back in the day. So I don't think it'll be much of a match, but we'll go Carlos in straights. How about that?
Yeah.
All good there. All right. Moving on. It was a good battle between Thomas Mahach and Alex de Minaur. Two players that I talked about in terms of, having, some pretty high level backhands. I think Mahach can be one of the better backhands in the world. De Minaur kind of has a backhand that's more suited for, a hard court or a grass court, very flat, skips through the surface, and, their forehands kind of fluctuate. Did you get a chance to watch any of this match?
Yeah, I did. We talked yesterday about how it was going to be, or on Monday, sorry, about how it was going to be a grind. It was going to be a marathon, and I knew it was. I think I said on stream that it was definitely going 3. But I wasn't expecting de Minaur to bagel Mahach. I wasn't quite expecting that to happen. But that can happen. Mahach's level can just drop off a cliff. He does go for broke a lot, especially in situations where he doesn't need to go for broke, which is it's very strange. But yeah, de Minaur, I think I said it on Twitter earlier. I feel as though he pulled through this match thanks to his doubles that he's been doing with Struff, just playing those clay court matches already this season. I mean, if this was his first match, no doubles, I think this might have got a lot tighter in the third with Mahach. Both of them in their first clay match of the year, and could have got but barring Mahach didn't play doubles with Draper, but yeah, this could have got a lot closer. But I think that those 2 wins under his belt on the clay with Struff definitely pulled him through in the third set.
Yeah, my bad. I was gonna mention, because this match was so similar, it felt like to Mahach's first match where he beat Baez. It was such a kind of seesaw match where there wasn't really anyone, clear cut being the favorite, dictating points. It just kind of felt random. And here was another case, as you mentioned, in terms of Mahach not really having, it felt like maybe not too much of a game plan, but as you say, he was going for broke and kind of just hitting out of his shoes, which he didn't need to. And when I talk about his forehand, it's not that it's not powerful. It's just sometimes, as I say, it's like erratic. He does have a lot of topspin on it, which can be good for this, this surface. And, he loves getting in kind of cat and mouse type of points because he's super athletic and he has really good hand skills. But it feels like still kind of a work in progress in terms of an experience thing, where I never really felt like he was threatening de Minaur in that third set. Despite there being kind of some deuce battles there, he didn't have what it took to really impose himself against de Minaur. And I wouldn't say like either of them look super comfortable, but it's a heavily contested match in terms of even quality, and especially on the surface, it looks a lot different. So you know, it was, you know, physical, wasn't insanely physical, but just talking about, you know, players who weren't really taking the match into their own hands. There wasn't a lot of grasp on it. So that's kind of my take. Just kind of a topsy-turvy match that once you felt like it got to the third set, it was going to go De Minaur's way just due to experience and composure.
Yeah, it was tough. I have such high hopes for Mahatch on how just he can produce this like insane level for like in a three-setter, in a best of three match. Like he obviously beat Alcaraz in Shanghai, played a crazy level there, and you know he has it in him, but it's just like such a lack of consistency, which is such a shame because I really like his game. I mean, his shorts clearly weren't short enough today to come through against De Minaur. I mean, it's actually getting ridiculous. Like
it is.
Their game is so short. But
you see, it was Goffin, Minorino, and Gasquet talking about it at the dinner table. UTS.
Yes, yeah.
It's like,
UTS.
if you don't get that, if you don't get it by now, Mahatch, like.
Yeah. Honestly, it's so like it's so bad. Like, and it's like he. Oh, anyway, it's him and Runa with the short shorts. They're like, it's terrible. But yeah, unfortunately, it's just such a lack of consistency, and I think that De Minaur being a top 10 player, just he has that consistency that Mahatch is looking for on a tennis court, especially on a clay court. Neither of them are specifically suited to this sort of court, but you know, it was physical, but yeah, De Minaur comes through kind of comfortably in the end. But I'm kind of thinking that De Minaur's next match could actually maybe go 4 hours plus, because like just with the way that they're both playing, it's like it's going to be a struggle to watch.
Yeah, I know. And I was thinking about how I wanted to dictate that into our next conversation. I don't think we have to have too long of a conversation about the Medvedev Mueller match. And then I'd like to get into the preview between De Minaur and Medvedev, which will be in the next round. You know, for me, it was kind of what we thought going in terms of it was going to be a marathon match, very physical. But I've just been genuinely surprised, maybe impressed by Medvedev in terms of like his on-court character out here. I've been mentioning it, how he's just outspoken in terms of the services he doesn't like and the ones that don't suit his game well, but he's making do so well. And the forehand is what's been most impressive. I mean, the backhand, you know, it can hang with anyone and he can, you know, guide it where it needs to be. But against Mueller, he has a lot of topspin on that forehand and creates a lot of angle. And Medvedev was answering the call there. And also the draw shot in terms of variety, it was doing a really good job. And Mueller, one of the more fit players on tour, one of the better movers. I feel like people don't really know that as he's, you know, come through the ranks, is, you know, how good of a mover he is and you know, getting to those drop shots. But Medvedev they were super timely. He disguised it well, especially on the backhand wing. So I'll say I was impressed with Medvedev today. Did you have any thoughts on that match?
Yeah, it was always going to be tough for Medvedev. I mean, Muller's been playing really well this year, but yeah, kind of went the long way round again, as we all knew he would.
Yeah, I kind of forgot about the fact that he was serving for the match and then lost the set.
Yeah, it's just so strange. I mean, I find myself so often thinking about Daniil Medvedev as like, okay, he comes into this match against someone that's like 40 in the world, like he's expected to win, but like he's like, even in like a 5-setter, he's two sets to love down, but I just have this feeling that he's gonna win. Like thinking about like the Australian Open 2024, like that match against Rusevori where he was 2 sets to love down and he came through, and I had no doubts that he would come through that match, because it's just what Medvedev does. He makes life so difficult for himself, but then he just plays it. He just plays his way. But yeah, I mean, this Medvedev De Minaur match, I mean, it's just gonna be a slog, like a real slog. I don't expect anyone to stick around for the full 4.5 hours. But yeah,
Let's see. Is that match being played tomorrow? Because
I mean that's rough on Medvedev. That's now nearly 6 hours on court in 2 days.
yeah, it is. It's third up on Corte del Princess. All right. I mean,
I guess I'll go
that could definitely
Medvedev.
have that could have a impact. Go ahead.
I'll go Medvedev in 3, mainly because I just feel exactly what I was just talking about. The Medvedev's going to somehow find a way, and he'll, none of them's going to hit through the other. It's going to be a lot of sliding around the court, a lot of backhand to backhand exchanges, and I think in the backhand, De Minaur has that kind of edge. Like, I actually think that De Minaur's backhand down the line's a little underrated. I kind of like his backhand down the line. It's so flat that, so he nails the line like 90% of the time. And, it's tough to deal with, but I'm going to give it to Medvedev again in 3, just because I feel as though he'll somehow find a way to pull De Minaur around the court enough to wear him down and finish the job.
I'm with you. I'm going with the Medvedev effect here. I just think I've been impressed with his ability to, he just does everything on his terms, and like I said, I think that I know what I'm getting on the backhand wing, and obviously I've really been impressed with the drop shot and disguise and timing of everything. That's what's been impressive. But yeah, all hail the return of Klebedev.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about a tournament, as I was saying, I think these conditions are very similar to Rome. And I'm thinking specifically about Tabilo and Medvedev. But yeah, I mean, head-to-head, 7-3. I was going to say, how many times have they met on clay? That's what I'm looking at right now. That's a classic dance.
Yeah, it's
so much fun.
All
right, French Open. Let's see.
The Italian Open social media team put a meme out about that earlier. That exact celebration. Yeah, there's a whole story behind the meme, but yeah, they love to rinse that one all the time.
It's so good. All right, yeah. So they've only met once on clay. It was at the French Open last year, and I'm trying to recall
and De Minaur obviously
yeah.
won. Yeah, I remember that match. Medvedev definitely wasn't at the races that day.
Yeah.
I remember it very clearly. He was very down from the beginning of the match. And I kind of felt as though he was never in it. Like, yeah, it went 4, but I just felt as though Medvedev was never going to win that match. And De Minaur was playing well on the clay. Obviously, he made the quarterfinals last year, lost to Zverev, but yeah, he definitely played well that day. And De Minaur isn't a bad clay courter, but he's become such a well-rounded player on all surfaces, and that's why he's that top 10 player. Had that big top 10 break at the beginning of last year, and now he's just sort of established himself as that 11, 10, 9, 8 sort of spot. But yeah, I'm still going to give it to Medvedev just because I feel as though, if Medvedev starts cramping, I think that just gives me even more hope that Medvedev will win. I think the worse it looks, the better it gets.
Yeah, I mean, it's just he's one of those players where he's not gonna beat himself really, and that's what makes him so difficult in these types of situations. So yeah, it should be a battle, but I feel like, Fergus, we can't keep the people waiting too much longer, and we got to talk about one of the biggest storylines today, which is Novak Djokovic. He loses to Alejandro Tabilo for the second straight time. They've only met twice, and it's two wins, 4 sets to love. What did you make of this match today?
I mean, Djokovic was subpar. It was motivation, such a big thing for Djokovic at the moment, and it's about starting. It's about starting these tournaments. If he gets a good gentle ease into the draw, it becomes a lot easier for him. He feels as though, he gets to the quarterfinals and it's kind of like, well, I could definitely win this. But yeah, I think Tabilo, he was good today, but nowhere near as good as he was in Rome. I think, yeah, it was tough. I mean, Djokovic threatened to get back into the match at 4-3 with those 2 break points, but couldn't take them. And after that, it was signed sealed. But yeah, that actually, that drop shot on match point, that was just
right.
It's like he'd given up, and he was just like, this is just go for broke. Like, but it was a crazy drop shot. But yeah, Tabilo played well, but Djokovic, I think it was more a fact of Djokovic just not mentally being there, I don't think. And yeah, Tabilo was obviously all up for it, being against Djokovic once again.
Yeah, I mean, I think the story is obviously Djokovic was not on his A game by any means. It was just kind of slow from the get-go in terms of movement. Didn't really look super into the match. I was going to say it took to be, down a break threatening at 4-3 for pretty much the match on the line for me to see him even semi-engaged. And then he got 2 break looks and kind of just wasted them. It felt like didn't really get himself into those points and really put the pressure on Tabilo. And, it's obviously something that I came into the match. Maybe I just wasn't considering the fact that, he has 1 goal not only at this point, but to win majors. And, I thought maybe given that he had lost that matchup to Tabilo and they've only, had played once just before, that would be something that could get him up for this match, have a spark. But Tabilo really didn't do anything crazy. He was just, a solid player, and the forehand was working. He was actually playing with good depth. I'll give him that. And Djokovic was kind of trying to create angles and spins and different heights on the forehand to Tabilo's backhand, but he was, weathering the storm quite comfortably. And Tabilo does like to spam the drop shot. He has great hands and has good disguise. So look, I don't think it's a storyline, and that's, what's most important here. But as I guess we have it set in stone. What is Djokovic most looking forward to this clay season? It's Roland Garros.
Roland Garros, there's absolutely no doubt about that.
So
I mean,
yeah.
this is all since 2024, since the Olympics, since he won the gold medal, this was the one and only thing that he was going to focus on. Like, he said in interviews countless times, I think it was maybe AO 2024, I think it was, someone said, what do you want to win in your career this year? And he was like, I've kind of won everything. Like, there's not really something that I'm looking forward to winning this year. Obviously, it was ATP, not obviously thinking about the Olympics, but yeah, Grand Slams are definitely his one goal. And I think, if he gets that, and I think, Wimbledon this year is his last chance. This was his last chance. And I have no doubts in my mind, because this year's Wimbledon will be the last year, because I have a feeling that Sinner's going to become a seriously good grass courter. He obviously already is, but just I feel like it's going to become like a Titan clash, Alcaraz Sinner on grass. But yeah, this is his last chance, 100%. Wimbledon this year, and if he doesn't do it this year, if he does it this year, I can feel his retirement literally as the trophy is lifted. Like, I can feel him saying, yeah, that's me done. Thanks, guys. Bye. Like, almost like that.
I know. It's just one of those sports where, you're traveling so much. It's so taxing on the body. And at this point, when you've won everything, it's like, how up am I going to get for these, matches? But yeah, I think it was interesting as our producer's talking about. I was able to listen to Tabio's conversation with Prakash after the match, and yeah, I mean, he seemed like he was comfortable, and he talked about how already beating him, already having played him, allowed him to be a lot more, loose out there, and he had a little bit more of a game plan that Prakash kind of tried to get out of him, but Tabio did a good job by just saying, we stuck to the game plan, and that's that's what he would do out there. So yeah, definitely a talking point as we move forward and we get closer to Roland Garros and Sinner's return, and what sort of chances Djokovic is going to have as we move forward. But I think his next tournament will be Madrid. Not sure, but
yeah, he's on the list. Whether he calls it, and because obviously, yeah, I don't know whether he'll call it and say, I don't want to play Madrid this year, just plays Rome, and then just goes straight to Roland Garros. I surely at the back of his mind he must be tempted just to go to France now. Maybe take a week at home and then just go straight to Roland Garros. Just spend as much time on court, Philip Charteris as possible, and just get hitting as soon as possible on the French clay. But yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know what's next for Djokovic, because could get such a good draw at Madrid, and then he gets through the first 3 rounds, and he's like, and then he just goes and wins Madrid out of nowhere, like nicks it off Alcaraz or something ridiculous. But I just don't see it happening, and I think his mind is too far in the future, and he's already thinking about Roland Garros, and he's already thinking about playing that first match. Yeah, I think he's just already in the future.
Right. All right. I think we'll stop on the Djokovic conversation there, but shall we talk about Tabio's next opponent, where he'll be taking on Dimitrov? We can quickly talk about the Dimitrov match today, where he played Valentin Vachereau. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly.
Vacheron is fine, I think.
Yeah. That was I did get to tune into that match, and I mean, Dimitrov didn't look as I guess I thought he would look. He's very, very erratic. They showed us that maybe pretty much early into the second set where he had 36 unforced errors already to that point. Vachereau did a good job in terms of, putting him in uncomfortable positions and kind of baiting him to hit winners. And, those were big moments in the match. And then, I mean, he was a breakup once, and then had love 40. Another time, Vachereau, that is, to go up a break in the second. So a set and a break look, and just kind of wasn't able to close it out. And, that's unfortunate, obviously, having the wild card, and Dimitrov even apologized at the net. So, the good job getting over the hump. But what do you make of it?
The string broke on match point. Do you see that? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think Vachereau was maybe just a little nervous and a bit tentative coming into this match. Just the 8 winners over 3 sets. I mean, you want that number a lot higher, especially when you play someone like Dimitrov. Dimitrov's like just exactly what you're going to get from Dimitrov. Super consistent, loves the backhand slice, and that backhand's usually a building block for then unleash the forehand. But yeah, it was tough. I kind of hoped for a bit more from Vacheron, especially in that third set. But yeah, I was always expecting Dimitrov to come through this match. But I was kind of hoping for a bit of a tighter scrap in the third, but Dimitrov kind of shut that down. And, as he does so well, just gets through these matches, just these early matches. He plays well enough to come through them, and then sort of like saves his best for the big matches. But yeah, Tabilo in round 3. I mean, Ghosty, he apologized to the net because on match point his string broke. So he hit a backhand and his string broke. So the ball could have gone completely anywhere. But then the next ball strike from Vacheron was into the net. So a bit of a shank from Dimitrov and a bit of luck. But, you know, he was 5-1 up in the third anyway. But yeah, a bit of an apology, but nothing too much from Dimitrov.
Yeah, I mean, so we got 2-0 in terms of the head-to-head. The first match they played being last year in Miami, a total battle, breaker, and then Dimitrov won the third set, and then the other one being at Laver Cup where it was two breakers. So been tight contested battles. You know, talk about an intriguing matchup in terms of the lefty forehand to the one-handed backhand. You know, now we're on clay, so it's going to look a little different. What are your thoughts here, Fergus?
I think this is, I mean, Tabilo hasn't blown me away with his level yet over his last two matches. I mean, he played a below par first set against Wawrinka, and then I kind of thought Wawrinka would come through that match anyway, but yeah, came through that well. Obviously, hadn't been in great form recently. Had that classic against Mute in Miami that seemed to go on for a year with all the crowd stuff. But yeah, and then, but Tabilo, he played a solid level against Djokovic, and I think solid's the word that describes it best. He didn't play anything too fancy on the court, and he just played his tennis. And yeah, but I think Dimitrov comes through this quite easily, especially if Dimitrov plays anywhere near his best tennis. In Dimitrov in 2 tight sets, maybe 5 and 4.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like Dimitrov has so much to offer to you know, this tournament in terms of, you know, his comfort, not only you know, in terms of the city, the location, but, you know, on the clay court. And I think if you talk about like anywhere close to his best level, like today was so far from it, where I was like, he really just needs to make a few balls and grab a little bit momentum, and then have the ability to kind of run away with this match in terms of playing a player who just has nowhere near as much experience. You know, when you're playing those top players, the nerves obviously come in. So yeah, I think I'm not maybe as convinced as you in terms of, you know, straightforward 5-4 type of victory, but you know, I am leaning Dimitrov to come through here. But you think about Tabio, I think this is, I guess, his biggest winning streak of the season thus far. So, you know, he's riding a little bit of a high, definitely coming off beating Djokovic again. So, you know, you never know what that can do to a player, but on the flip side, there can always be a big letdown. So, you know, that'll be something to watch out for. Should be a good battle.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. So we're coming down to our final 2 matches here.
Yeah.
We'll probably brief this one quickly. Casper Ruud defeats Roberto Bautista Agut 6-2, 6-1. I didn't feel like I needed to even watch this match. This is, you know, it's Casper's you know, clay world, and we're all just living in it. And
yeah.
He was able to, you know, just get out on the front foot, and you know, he talks about how much he really tries to hit with so much heavy spin and just make it difficult on opponents to put balls in difficult areas for him. And he, as he talks about, you know, patient, he loves to be on the move and defend, but I think patience is the key word, because you know, he's looking for that short middle ball that he can, you know, kind of dictate on to a wing and continue to move towards the net. So, you know, obviously all positives from me when talking about Casper here. What about you?
I mean, this was just as simple as it comes, really. No real comments need to be made. This is just as simple as it gets. I mean, Casper couldn't have asked for an easier first round opponent, I think. But listen, I saw something the other day that said in the last 2 years when Casper's lost in Miami, he's smiling at the net at the handshake because he's like, I get to go play on the clay now. Like he's like, oh, thank God this is over. Like let's go play on the clay. And then I'm sure after Roland Garros, he's so sad because now he has to go play golf for 2 months. Like
exactly, he might be even smiling harder.
Yeah, honestly. But yeah, it's just classic Casper on the clay, demolition job. Nothing really that surprised us here. I mean, maybe Batista could have got a couple more games out of him, a lot of juice points, but yeah, this is a pretty standard match for Casper at the moment. And I didn't really expect anything different. I think I watched 2 points of this match, but yeah.
Good start. And he'll be taking on Alexei Popyrin, who was able to come through in 3 sets today versus Francis Tiafoe. For me, I was thinking it might be a little bit more straightforward for Popyrin, but I really just wasn't convinced, and it almost brought me to the fact where I'm like, when we think about U.S. players on clay, particularly Ben Shelton, Tiafoe, and this is where I'm like, okay, maybe I'm thinking that Tiafoe has a chance to do well on this surface as we move forward, because I just didn't think Popyrin's play was convincing enough, and as I said, I think it's great for him on the clay where he has more time to wind up on these big heavy ground strokes, but it just felt like there wasn't a lot of rhythm, and he didn't have a good feel on his ground strokes today. A lot of balls spraying long. He does generate a lot of topspin on both of those wings, so that is a plus. But when you're not able to finish points when you get the opportunity, it can cause problems. Did you get a chance to watch any of this match?
Yeah. No one should ever coin Grasper, by the way, Ghosty. That's actually you could actually DM Casper Ruud that right now, and he would tell you how much he hates grass. But anyway, Popyrin, Tiafoe, yeah, I did actually catch a little bit of this. The level wasn't like huge. There wasn't there wasn't much like a huge heavy rallies. There was a lot of +1 misses, unfortunately, on the Popyrin side, especially in that first set, which is kind of strange because Popyrin loves that +1, especially on the forehand side. He's got a big forehand, especially. I mean, that's how he definitely a big factor in his Toronto win. No, Montreal. Am I going crazy? His Canada Masters last year.
It was Montreal.
Yeah, it is Montreal.
Yeah.
I'm getting inside. I'm thinking too much about it. Yeah, Toronto's the women. Anyway, but a lot of +1 misses in that first set, and then I kind of gave Tiafoe the first set, but there was a lot of breaks. There was no real consistency either from both of them. This is definitely both of them. This is their weakest surface, But I'm sure Popyrin will be happy to get some more consistency on the clay, another match under his belt. It was a fine watch, but yeah, nothing too special. I mean, it was a 2 guys that don't love the clay as much as like your next 2 guys, but battling it out. But I mean, Popyrin versus Ruud. I mean, I'll give Popyrin maybe 2 more games than Batista Agut, maybe 3-2. That's about it.
I'm right there with you. I'm honestly, I don't know if you can hear my voice. I'm just disappointed by Popyrin's play when you get an opportunity to, go up against a extremely fatigued Tiafoe. Probably didn't have much, heart going into it. And then, finally breaking for 5-2 just to get broken to love serving out the match. That also frustrated me. And so I wasn't really happy. I think Tiafoe got broken like 5, 6 last like 8 times or something like that. It was crazy.
Yeah,
so
it was.
Yeah, I don't have any big hopes here. I just want Casper to continue to play well. That's all.
Tiafoe broken 6 times in the match. I mean, yeah, It wasn't a quality affair. And this, like, there actually wasn't that much between them in terms of like their call coverage or what they're putting on the ball, but it was just about who was going to make the error first. There was no real quality on the court, but that's fine. And Popyrin comes through, and Popyrin can get up for this match against Ruud, but I don't see him putting up any sort of a challenge or any sort of a challenge for Ruud. And I think that Popyrin knows his limits on this surface, so he's just gonna feel out how the match goes tomorrow. But Ruud in 2 is definitely the way to go here.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And interesting. They haven't played each other before. So
no, that is interesting. 2 guys that have been on the tour for a while now, never played each other. So yeah, it's a new one for the statisticians. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. But I don't expect anything other. And Popyrin hasn't been in good form this year. So these 2 wins definitely help him in a sense of some confidence. And Tiafoe and Humbert is definitely a good win for him under the belt. Tiafoe, less so, but still good.
Yeah, still good to come through. All right. Well, that's it for us today, guys. Thank you, so much for joining us and continuing to entertain. So we'll look forward to doing this again soon. So thanks so much for joining me, Fergus, and look forward to seeing everyone soon.
See you guys soon. Thanks, guys.
Have a good one.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.